We think amateur athletes are amateur because they're not dedicated enough. They don't push themselves as much as the pros do. No pain, no gain, right? Wrong. It's counterintuitive, but it's the very opposite. Pros don't push themselves to the limit, and this is true in investing too. Hello and welcome. I'm Sharat Mantravadi. I make videos on personal finance and investing. Money is less about numbers and more about your emotions and psychology. So when it comes to personal finances, building wealth, and the whole problem of integrating wealth into a balanced, deliberate, and a holistic life, it's not what you know, it's how you behave that's important. And that is what I explore on my channel. According to research published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, a group of researchers studied the training schedules of a dozen Olympic-level cross-country skiers. These are some of the most extreme athletes out there. The kind of stress and training they put their bodies through is unbelievable. Morgan Housel spoke about this in his excellent blog. During the course of an year, these athletes train for around 2 hours each day for a total of 861 hours for the entire year. Each hour of training was divided into high intensity, medium intensity, and low intensity based on their heart rate. Above 87% of the maximum heart rate is high intensity. Heart rate between 82 and 87% is medium intensity, and 60 to 80% is low intensity. One can probably carry out a conversation during the low intensity training sessions. Here's the most surprising part. Of the 861 hours spent training during the year, only 4.8% of the time, or 41 hours, was spent doing high intensity training. And only 6.4% of the time, or about 55 hours, was spent training at medium intensity. 88.7% of the total time, that is 764 hours of the 861 hours trained, was spent on low intensity training. So almost 90% of the time was spent cruising along, barely straining themselves, much below their potential. The percentage of total time spent training at high intensity is very similar for other athletes, such as professional runners, cyclists, rowers, and swimmers. I was very surprised by this. I thought professionals were beasts who spend most of their time pushing their limits. I also thought it was their ability to push themselves beyond their limits day after day over many years that separated the professionals from the amateurs. They apparently don't push themselves to the limit on purpose. It did make sense after a while, and I saw the parallels with investing. This is how one of the authors of this study explained it. Professional endurance athletes go for a long time at a low intensity where they can recover and repeat it day after day. And that's what really brings success. The training process has to be sustainable over time in order to reach the highest levels. High intensity training causes chronic stress, and that leads to burnout and stagnation. It takes years of practice to reach the highest levels, even if you have the right genes for it. And not burning out physically or mentally seems critical to be able to sustain one's training over a long period of time. During the actual race, they will push themselves to the maximum and try to perform at their best, of course. But that is only for an hour or so, depending upon the contest. During the training, the optimal thing to do is to favor longevity over intensity and focus on avoiding injury. Instead of letting the body think that it is being tortured, top athletes give their bodies a signal to adapt. Sustainability is the key to success for top endurance athletes, just like investing. How much money you make from your investments depends on 3 factors. How much do you invest, your rate of return, and how long do you invest for and let the compounding do its magic. In the long term, most of your return will come from compounding. Compounding is just return to the power of time. This is the exponent that does the heavy lifting. Endurance and longevity are what creates enormous fortunes, not high returns. It is better to have a pretty good return for a long period of time than exceptional returns for a few years. The most powerful example of this is Warren Buffett. Jim Simons, head of hedge fund Renaissance Technologies, has compounded money at 66% annually since 1988. No one comes close to this record. His net worth now is about $29 billion. Warren Buffett's return track record of earning 21% a year pales in comparison. It is less than a third of Jim Simons. assets, but Warren Buffett's net worth is $101 billion, more than 3 times higher than Jim Simon's. That's because Warren Buffett started investing when he was 10 years old. Jim Simons started investing in his 50s. So the first investing lesson to learn from Olympic level endurance athletes is, when investing, you should not look for an investment that will give you the highest possible return. Instead, you should look for returns that will give you the best return for the longest possible time. Don't look for the sexiest growth stocks or the crypto coins with the most buzz to invest in. It's okay if your returns are boring. In fact, in investing, boring is better. Exceptional returns are not sustainable, just like high-intensity training is not sustainable, even though it is probably exhilarating and boosts your ego. The best option is to invest in a diversified, low-cost index fund like VTSAX. Like the amateur athletes who trained at unsustainable levels, few people would have heard of Warren Buffett had he started investing in his 30s and retired in his 60s like everyone else. That's because had he started investing at age 30, say with about $25,000 instead of the $1 million he was then worth, and earned the same 21% return, and retired at the age of 60 to play golf, spend time with his grandkids and travel the world, his current net worth would have been $100 million, not $101 billion. That's 3 orders of magnitude or 1,000 times less. The key to Warren Buffett's success is his longevity. He's been a phenomenal investor for 3/4 of a century. He's able to do that for such a long time because he loves what he does. He invests because he enjoys the process, not because he likes the things that money buys. He lives in the same house that he bought in 1958 for $31,500, the equivalent of roughly $325,000 in 2022. He eats fast food at McDonald's for breakfast every day. If the stock market is doing well and he feels rich, he buys bacon, eggs, and cheese biscuit sandwich for $3.89. And if the stock market is doing very badly, he buys 2 sausage patties for $2.38 only. So the second lesson is to invest in something you love. This is not traditional investing advice, by the way, because being rational and emotionless is considered to be a badge of honor in the world of finance and investing. But if lacking emotions about strategy or the stocks you own increases the odds of you walking away from them when they become difficult, what looks like rational thinking becomes a liability. Invest in companies you care about, whether it's their mission, product, the team, science, or anything else. This is also the reason why the advice to buy a house is reasonable, even though it is not optimal. US home prices have increased by 3.2% per year since 1890, while the average annual inflation has been 2.8%. So the home prices have barely kept up pace with inflation. For comparison, stock prices have increased by about 9.3% per year during this time. So it's not because of returns that investing in a house is a good thing. And it's not a good investment because of the leverage exposure that mortgage gives you either. It's because most people are more likely to buy a house and sit on it without interruption for years or even decades, unlike any other asset. Probably because they don't get a daily coat on their home or for sentimental reasons. It is the one asset people give compounding a fighting chance to work. If you're enjoying this video, please take a moment to like, subscribe, comment, and hit the bell icon. It helps YouTube algorithm to share this video with others who might also enjoy and benefit from them. Let's look at the third lesson now. Warren Buffett is now 91 years old, and his net worth is about $101 billion, like I said. His net worth in 1982 was only $376 million. So that means he earned 100.7 of the $101 billion or 99.7% of his current wealth after his 50th birthday. His net worth in his mid-60s was about $3 billion. So $98 billion or 97% of his current wealth came after he qualified for Social Security. The payoff for longevity and endurance is heavily backloaded, at least in investing. The counterintuitive nature of compounding leads even the smartest of us to overlook its power. The danger here is that when compounding isn't intuitive, we often ignore its potential and focus on solving problems through other means. Not because we are overthinking, but because we rarely stop to consider compounding's potential. We adopt other means of solving problems, such as chasing the riskiest investments to earn the highest possible returns. Investors have chased the highest possible returns in the past few years by investing in risky growth stocks, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and real estate, often with borrowed money. They did this because almost everything seemed to be going up month after month. The problem with chasing the best possible return is that it causes burnout. As the market has started falling, even the best investors are equivalent to an athlete who pushed themselves to 110% in every training session, and now they're burned out. So just when it might be a great time to take advantage of the fall in prices and buy stocks of great companies at low prices, those who chased the highest returns and ran the fastest are slowing down. For some time, they felt like champions, but over time, they'll be overtaken by a guy who systematically follows dollar cost averaging and continues to invest through the bear market. So those people who casually jog each day way below their potential, sustain their training and build a body that can adapt and recover for the next day are going to win. The third investing lesson is to focus on not burning out. Burnout is of two kinds, financial and psychological. Financial burnout happens when you invest with borrowed money and buy stocks on the margin. You're forced out of the market when it falls. For example, if you buy half of your investments in stocks on the margin, that is with borrowed money, a 50% fall in stocks will wipe you out. Very often, it doesn't have to fall all the way down for it to scar you psychologically and make bad decisions for years to come. When you watch your net worth evaporate in 2 weeks, you'll likely remember how that felt for a long time. As a result, you might avoid investing in stocks forever or for a long time after they start raising again. Many investors will end up like professional athletes who burn out, their minds giving up before their bodies. Psychological burnout is more likely when you check your stock prices daily or even weekly. Remember that investing is an endurance sport. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Longevity is the key to success. If you like this video, I recommend that you watch this one. That video is about why having an internal scorecard is important for personal finances and why seeking external validation can hurt you. I'm Sharath Mantravadi. Thanks for watching.